Hey everybody, Stu Smith here going live, taking some questions. But before we go into the Q&A session and the CSS critique session, because it is Tuesday, and if it's Tuesday, you guys send me videos to watch you swim for 50 meters and I'll critique them. But first, I wrote an ebook recently, and it's not a workout book. It's a mistakes book. I get really tired of basically telling the people every year after year about the number one mistake people make with joining the military and having a spec ops dream. And that one is, you get the idea that you want to go be a Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, SF, PJ, Marine Recon, um, whatever the spec ops job is. You get that idea and you immediately walk into a recruiter's office and say, I want to be a SEAL. I want to be a Ranger. Having done no research on the process, having done no training to prepare for entry level fitness tests, having done no training to get you through that training pipeline, and you're just relying on your athletic history, and that is it. And for some, depending on what that athletic history is, you may not need a whole lot of time in this preparation phase. But for most people, there is a weakness that has never been developed that will be exposed from as early as your first PST to as late as your first day of spec ops training, right? You may not even know you have a weakness until your first day of spec ops training. And for most people, that is typically they get to the first week of spec ops training, and that's it, because they have these underlying weaknesses that they never bothered to assess to even find out if they have a strength or weakness or not. And they never bothered to train to make that weakness less of a weakness and a borderline strength, because you got to be good at everything. So the problem is lack of preparation. That is the number one problem, number one mistake that I see probably at least in person 10 to 15 times a year, and online with emails and DMs, it's countless. And then I send these guys over to, guys that have been training with me over to take a PST, for the first time. And they said, yeah, I was the only one that passed it. We had another 5, 6 guys that didn't even finish the swim or something. So there's always those stories, and I'm just shocked that people are doing that. It really just shows that you're not ready to even consider this job seriously, because you haven't even really done any steps to seriously consider the job. You don't know anything about it. Had a guy other day ask me, like, "Oh, you wear masks at Buds?" Come on, man. All that takes is a YouTube video. You realize you're not wearing goggles. Sorry. So anyway, that's the number one mistake. There are dozens more mistakes that are just as equally as important as this one, but I think this one is just number one because that's where you start first. If you're a 15-year-old kid and you got 3, 5, 6 years to prepare, you got plenty of time. My suggestion would be get on those sports and get after it and start working on your all the elements of fitness in some fashion. If you're more, purposely driven towards contact sports, you're going to be doing some lifting, you're doing some sprinting, whatever. Um, if you're more into the martial arts and wrestling and boxing and MMA stuff, hey, that's fine too. You're more interested in the endurance side with running and swimming. That's great too. Do any one of those, do multiple of them. My advice is to do something and then in the off season, either do a different sport that works something different. For instance, we had some really solid candidates here this year. One was a wrestler and a swimmer, just killing it. Right. The other guy was a wrestler who could swim. We had another guy who was a lacrosse player and ran cross country. Killed it. So they're strong, they're fast, they're good swimmers. Great candidates. Their athletic history makes it easy to prepare them. But if you're coming into this game, and I call it a game but it's not a game, it's real life. And think of it as this is your first job interview, right? And if you're going into a fitness test that requires you to pass a swim and you don't pass the swim or you cannot even swim, how do you think that job interview is going to go? They're not going to hire you. They're not going to say, "Hey, you're a great candidate. Come on back." They're going to say, "Man, you need a lot of work. Come on back when you're ready." That may take another 6 months. And guess what? You're on their time now because you're already in the delayed entry program. You're not on your timeline anymore. You're on theirs. So this is my number one mistake that I see year after year, dozens of times a year, people make. And it really is just lazy. You got to do some research into what you're trying to do in your future. All right. In fact, I another guy that's a Army SF guy commented on my article that I wrote, and I tagged it um, into the comments section. I'm sorry, not the comment section, but the description. In fact, this article is called "Avoid These Mistakes, Save Your Spec Ops Dream." In fact, I'll put it in here. And his comment was, and he's an former Army SF guy. He goes, "I think the biggest problem these days is the abundance of info available on the internet, Reddit, and some people put out great info, but most of it is terribly misleading." I think there's plenty of information out there, but even then, I mean, there was no information out there when there's no internet. You know, you had to find people who were like-minded and training for this type of stuff. And you were on your own, right? And you're still on your own, but you now have some useful tools out there if you go find them. Right? There's some great training ideas out there, and I'm not the only one who creates them. I'm just one of many. I have a way to train, not the only way to train. So check out that article if you're worried about making mistakes and find something that works for you. Assess yourself, because if you're not assessing, what are you doing? You're only guessing. All right. So, you guys have any questions for me? No, I went on a little bit of a rant for me, but just really getting tired of seeing people make dumb mistakes. And then here's the even worse part is they don't get a contract because they can't pass PST. And they're in the delayed entry program. So they join the Navy anyway, which is fine. I think that's great. Join the Navy, military, whatever branch of service you want to do. And then in the Navy, they say that's okay. Maybe after boot camp and my first tour, I can go to buds. That's a great theory. However, two things have to be working in your favor in order to do that. And this is where it is so tough. And I've seen it another dozen times a year because those people that didn't get billets or didn't get a SO billet are now, in the Navy and trying to get two buds. And two things have to be in your favor. One, the year group, the year that you join. So let's say you join at 2020 and now it's 2023 and you're trying to get to buds. And as long as that year group is open, like meaning they didn't fill their uh, quota to the top, you can get an opportunity to go to buds. Second, if your job in the Navy is not undermanned and they won't let you leave that job to go do another job. Two things have to be working in your favor. And that's two big ifs. So all right. So I know I've ranted a little bit. I apologize, but it's just something that I see way too often. And I'm trying to get people to not um not do stupid stuff. Let's see. I do have some videos to show you, and I will take some questions as well while I pull these up. Looks like Sebastian has a question. Which muscle do you think contributes the most to running speed? Oof, damn, that's a good one. Never really thought of it that way. I mean, it's a system of muscles that really contribute to your running speed, but running speed specifically? Huh. I would probably say it's a toss up between hip flexors and your ability to push off the ground with your calves. Probably the soleus specifically. But I never really thought about it. So that's just me off the top of my head thinking about that. Um, that way. So my thing is watch this. If you're really worried about speed, and it depends on what speed you're talking about. Are you talking about mile and a half speed, which is completely different from 10-meter speed, um, and that type of explosive power? My advice would be go to a YouTube channel with a speed coach who is teaching people how to sprint and notice the exercises that that person uses. A lot of hip movements, a lot of explosives, a lot of jumping. So there's some hamstring, there's some butt muscles, there's some hip flexors. I mean, all of that is rolled into a system of working those muscles. But the most important, it really depends on how you define speed. Stu, realistically, if I'm running a 38-minute 4 miler, how long am I looking to drop down to 28, 29 minutes? Um, yeah, 28-minute 4 miler. So that is about a 9.5 minute mile. Um, I would bet you 6 months, as long as you don't get injured. My advice would be if you're running a lot of long, slow distance, shut it down and just start running intervals and goal pace running. You can still do a 4 or 5 mile run day, but make them, shorter, faster run sets so you can start learning the goal pace that you need. You're at 9.5 per mile right now. My recommendation would be to try to see if you can flirt around with an 8-minute mile. That means a 2-minute quarter. That means a 4-minute 800, 8-minute mile, and start learning how to run that fast. And then, you know, if you need a running plan that can help you with that, check this out. I showed this yesterday. If you weren't here yesterday, I talked about this one. You can see it on yesterday's live, but check out that link I just put in there. It's 20 miles a week. I'm not sure how many miles a week you're running right now. Chris, I'd be real interested in how many miles a week you are currently running. You can get back to me in a minute. Morning Stu swam a 1640 1000 with fins last night, and I was wondering if is the test in buds measured in yards or meters. It is measured in meters. However, I don't think they're doing it anymore. I think they just made that change to where, though it's still good to practice your 1,000 meter at a good solid pace, because if you can do this pace for 2,000 and be at 33 minutes, and then you could do that for 4,000, which is 2 miles swim, and be at 66, 67 minutes, just be under 70. That's really good because you have 85 minutes to fail that thing, right? If you can come in 15 minutes under the minimum standard, that puts you in the top 10% of the class. And guess what happens in those 15 minutes? You get out of the pool, out of the ocean, you do your Huya ocean push-ups, run to the drying cages, take off all your stuff, eat something, drink something, high five your buddy because you just crushed it, and you're watching everybody else come in 10 minutes after you, 15 minutes after you, and then they just stop it. And if there's anybody that comes in after 85 minutes, for the next 15, 20 minutes, the whole instructor staff are hammering those dudes, right? And you get to watch. I mean, you're not watching too intently. You don't really want to, you want to avert your eyes because you don't want them to pull you into it. So get all your stuff ready for the next evolution. You're hydrated, and now you're going to have to help those guys who just got beat out of all their clothes, under their new dry clothes, into the next evolution. Make sure they're hydrating, right? So that's 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 buds, right? If you can avoid extra buds, you can you can really have some longevity in that course and not be beaten down so much. So, whew. All right, Sebastian, 2 to 5 mile speed. Okay, Sebastian, I'm not sure what you're talking about. So let's see what your original question was. Which muscles do you think contributes to most running speed? So you're talking about longer distance speed. Um, it's a whole different animal on that one. It's more of an endurance issue and you moving your legs faster. So I would still go with hip flexors. Hip flexors are going to be what lift your knees up and you move a little bit faster. Hamstrings as well. I wouldn't necessarily worry about what muscle because it really doesn't matter. I've spent 40 years working out and never really worried about what muscle makes me faster. Let's just run and get better at running, right? All that other fancy stuff is going to work itself out. Don't dig yourself deep into this hole of like, I got to work my hip flexors and my hamstrings. No, just go run faster. Do some squats and lunges, right? Annapolis 10 miler. What about it? It's a great run. I've done it a few times. When you ask a question, I'd appreciate a little bit of context. I don't understand what you're asking. Um, as of last week, running about 22 miles a week, 4 miles a day, 2 morning, 2 night, 6 days. Okay, that's not bad. That's good. In fact, um, man, it sounds like you're just like going super slow, building some aerobic base. It depends for how long you've been doing that. If you've been doing this for a while, time to make a shift and do that link that I just sent you. Do this one: running plan 20 fast miles a week. If you want to get faster, run faster. This has nothing to do with sprinting. This is all pacing. Yeah, there might be a faster sprint day in there, but it's all pacing movements and workouts. That's going to get your timed runs faster. So, Sebastian, that link right here answers your question as well. You want to run faster in a 2 to 5 mile timed run? That's it right there. All right, who we got here? I'm a plebe at USMA right now. Nice work. I'm working with a lot of the Naval Academy plebes right now too. Your programs and website definitely were a big help for cadet basic training and the ACFT. Thank you. Hey man, great job. Thanks for serving. It's a tough year, but it's going to be worth it. I think you will enjoy it. And I'll probably see you at the Army Navy game. So if you're ever in the Annapolis area, look us up. Come join us. Maybe you can do one of our workouts with us. Happy to have you along. We've had a couple of you have an exchange program, where your juniors, a couple of your juniors will come over to the Naval Academy their first semester of their junior year, and they'll just be midshipmen basically wearing their Army uniforms, and then Navy will go over to Army and do that too. A lot of times those guys are interested in that service. In fact, we've had two West Point cadets join us in our Spec Ops training team program we have, and they both became SEALs when they graduated West Point. All right. So I'm not sure what you want to do. Just say that's my involvement with West Point, other than the Army Navy football game. Um, but yeah, come join us if you're in the area. Does running against strong winds also help with long distance speed? You know what? That's a great question. I would say any resistance running will help you. So that means hills, beach, weight, um, hills, beach, weight, stair steppers, wind. Yeah, I would think so. In fact, we even put parachutes, run with those little parachutes behind our back, and do those. They tend to be a little for shorter runs, but we've done them for as long as 400-meter runs, and that slows you down a little bit, makes you work a little harder. Have any of your guys had longer COVID? How do you approach getting them back where they were pre-COVID? I had COVID 2 weeks ago, still have lingering cough and some fatigue. Great question. In fact, yes. Some of my online guys had COVID. In fact, it's funny. I can tell because I got a whole bunch of online people I'm training all over the place, multiple countries even. And I can tell when they give me feedback and tell me they were sick and they missed all their workouts. I can tell when something's coming, right? In whatever area it is, because um, there have been a couple of times, especially in the fall when it's flu season, and when we had the COVID issues. It was bad. I mean, I probably, would drop down to making workouts for like 30% of the group that week or 2 weeks because they were so sick they couldn't work out. But yes, so I'm familiar with it. And the way we started getting back into it, in fact, if you email me, I'll send you my COVID systems check workout, right? In fact, I wrote an article and you can read the article here. A really good one. I wrote this article after I had bronchitis one year and how I got back into training. But yes, you definitely want to ease back into it with light calisthenics and running like you're doing. But um, check out this link and it will give you some good ideas on how you're progressing post illness. So, for instance, I was feeling better. I took a week of just kind of really taking it easy because I anytime that I would get my heart rate up, my I'd start coughing with this bronchitis that get aggravated. So I realized I had to keep my heart rate because I was on a bike that had my heart rate going. I could tell, I say, okay, so if I get my heart rate past 125, I'm going to start coughing. So that led me to now keeping my heart rate down to like 120 or lower. And I was able to do things. So I was able to do a short set of calisthenics or even grab some weights and do like, 5 reps of moderately heavy weight, um, just enough to like get my heart rate up to like 115, 120. But as soon as I could tell I was getting in that zone, I just stop it and just walk, try to catch my breath. And you know, th- that's what helped me with it. And with this little systems check routine, you can kind of find out where that area is where you start coughing. Um, but yeah, if you email me, I'm happy to send you the one I wrote specifically for post COVID recovery. Stu at stewsmith.com. Just email me. It's a generic one pager that just walks you through the workout. And it's really similar to the mobility day where you do 5 minutes of cardio and then you do 5 minutes of upper body exercises. And that can be calisthenics, it can be dumbbells, it can be barbells, whatever, machines. Just do 5 minutes of a little circuit and you'll find out where that area is usually in that first set of where you start coughing. Might be 140 beats per minute for you. Who knows? But yeah, you're smart. Ease back into it. Treat yourself like a beginner, intermediate, and you'll at least feel like you're doing something. How does rested heart rate compare between a fit soldier and a not obese couch potato? Um, yeah, I would say, I mean, I know some great resting heart rates with soldiers and military guys that are sub 50, maybe even low 40s, high 30s beats per minute. Um, but if you don't do anything, your resting heart rate will probably be higher, most likely. It could be a genetic thing. You just have a low heart rate. Um, and if you're sitting on the couch drinking caffeinated drinks, chances are you're going to have even more elevated heart rate, maybe in the 70s and 80s, um, which I've seen as well. So, all right, shall we go into a uh, let's do a combat swimmer stroke video real quick. I think I didn't show you guys this one, but let's see. So this is a guy who's a short, stocky. He's probably like 5'6". So when everybody tells me short people can't swim, give me that excuse. Watch this. Full transitions. This is really good. Top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. Kind of has that little extra kick in there, but I don't think that's wasting a lot of energy like constant flutter kicks. This is pretty good. One Mississippi, two Mississippi pull. So this is nice. 22, 23 seconds turnaround. So yeah, he's swimming an 8-minute pace right here. And he usually swims like 8:15 on his 500s. So top arm, bottom arm, kick. He could be a little tighter on that top arm recovery. See how it's kind of away from his body. I don't have a whole lot of things to fix on this one. That was really good. So I'll see it one more time. If you guys do, just let me know. That was smooth. I'll show a couple other really good ones too. I don't have any bad ones today. Just all really good recently submitted videos. Um, Stu, when I had gotten some stress fractures 3 months back, and I'm scared to run anything faster than an 8-minute mile pace because that's when the shins started. Okay, I understand where you're coming from. My advice is one, make sure your shoes are good, right? I wouldn't necessarily get the most minimalist shoe you can get, but get something with some cushion and find some ground that's not concrete to run on. Meaning, if you can, run these intervals on a track that's rubberized. Um, do trail runs. Uh, if there's grass that you can run on, a dirt track, anything like that. Something that I used to do when my legs were hurt and the track team was busy on the track, I would go over to the baseball field and run the warning track, little dirt area in front of the wall. And I'd just run. Half of it would be on that dirt wall, the other half would be on great grass, that a baseball field does. That's another option if you can find a good baseball field to run on. Just do laps on a baseball field. Um, but find softer ground. That is going to help you with a lot of the impact pain that you may experience. Shoes and softer ground. There you go. You know what? I take this back. I may have found one that's not so good. I forgot about this one. And it's a little bit it's a little wonky because it came out I guess long ways. It's a good way to put it. You're gonna have to watch it like this. Okay. So check out this one. And let's see what we got here. So kick off the wall. That's a good streamline. Double arm pull looks good. Awkward kick there. Breaststroke kick's a little awkward. So let's see. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide. Top, bottom, kick, hold the glide. So if I'm looking at this, it looks like that bottom arm's really big and it seems to be kind of pulling your body forward a little bit. You're almost losing your straight posture when you're swimming with that bottom arm, but I can't really tell because got to look at it like this. That's not too bad. You got some pretty good posture there. You tend to just lean a little bit forward from your shoulders and neck, like your head's kind of down a little too much, and it just looks like you're swimming like a banana a little bit in some of those sets. So you left here at 5 seconds, finished at 55, 56. So you're swimming a yard per second. Top arm, bottom arm. You could go a little deeper with that top arm pull. Make that bottom arm pull a little smaller, like more like a breaststroke pull than the big sweeping arm pull. It looks good. Your scissor kick looks good. Your breaststroke kick off the wall does not. That's a good dolphin kick though, but that breaststroke kick doesn't do you anything. So my advice would be just go back into a scissor kick whenever you are transitioning from the pull out when you're already pulled. Just kick scissor kick and don't worry about that breaststroke kick because I think that just pretty much just had you putting on the brakes. I'll show you one more time. Just watch it. So you can see here, right? Watch this breaststroke kick. Yeah, you didn't do a whole lot with that one. Let's see. Check it on this one. Kick off the wall. Good. Got some good momentum. Just kind of slowed you down a little bit. If you notice the speed you have after you do a scissor kick, it's much better. Like you can just see the momentum taking you forward every scissor kick. So your scissor kick is better than your breaststroke kick. I'm not sure why that came out sideways, but it did. Hmm. All right. See if we got any other questions here. Looks like Frank's got one. Morning, Stu. Fell off your phase one program. Became a bit complacent the past month. Should I restart from week one? I was 9 weeks in. I don't know if you need to start over from week one. Here's what I would do. I would take a PST, just see where you are. And if it's solid, just go ahead and maybe start a few weeks before. So maybe start with week 7. If it's horrible, start off at week 1. Like when I say horrible, like not meeting competitive standards or maybe even not even meeting the minimum standards. That's where I would make that assessment. Really depends on your performance on a PST. But if you've taken a month off, typically it takes a good 2 to 4 weeks to get back to where you were, depending on the level of fitness you had going into that time off. So just remember that it usually takes 50 to 100% of the time you took off to build back up to where you were. Just ballpark. Hmm. Trying to find some more videos, but let me see. Maybe somebody sent some to me. Um, I bet I have one here. Not sure if I shared this one. This looks familiar, so I think I did share this one at one point. Um, but let's show it anyway. I think it's pretty good. All right, so here we go. One more time, and then if you guys don't have any questions, I will call it a day. Let me go a little bit full screen here. All right, so we got a good streamline. That's really good. I like that streamline kick. What do you do there? What was kick was that? Kick off the wall, little dolphin kick maybe. Little breaststroke kick there. Okay, we got a scissor kick, top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide. This is pretty good. No extra kicking. I like it. Top arm, bottom arm, kick. That's not bad. What was that? Damn, why does this take so long? Huh? Like a minute 3, but I think he started off a little late and it runs a little late. Because this looks like about a yard per second. So I do think that bottom arm could be a little shorter. Could be more like a breaststroke skull versus all the way down. Then you got to bring it all the way up. And that top arm could look a little more like a freestyle catch. All right. So when do you take off here? 5, 6 seconds in. This is a minute 33. When do you touch? Touches there. Touches at 101. Video goes to 103. So 2, 6, 8 seconds. Yeah. You know what? That's not too bad. That's like a 54-second. And if this is a 54-second swim and it's a meter pool, that's a yard per second. Because it looks like a yard per second to me. I'm not sure if you guys are catching it or not, but just from my experience, it looks like he's swimming at about a yard per second. Which if this is a meter pool, that's 54 yards. He does that in 54 seconds. Solid. Not bad. Yeah. All right. So what do you guys think? You guys have any more questions for me? I can take a few more. But if I missed your question, you can always email me, stu@stusmith.com. If you come up with an idea, for instance, of some question and you forgot to ask it, or you just don't want to ask it in a public forum, I get it. Just email me, stu. What's over there? Great articles over there, tons of them. You can do a little search feature and find a topic that I've already written about, or you can just go scroll through all the articles. Plus, there's a ton of programming in there, from ebooks, books, you name it, whatever tactical job that is, I usually have an answer for. And yeah, that's what I do. Work out and write about it. Pretty fun. So check out Live15, by the way. This coupon code here, Live15, will save you 15% on any um, book and ebook over there. Also, if you really want to see a lot of CSS critiques, you can go to my Instagram page, which is this address right here at StuSmith50. But it is also the same address over on TikTok, which I that is all that's over there. On my Instagram, there's a whole bunch of stuff on there, but on my reels, you'll see mostly CSS videos. But every now and then, there's something on there, maybe a live or me talking, flirting with my wife or something. Um, but yeah, you go over to TikTok, it is only CSS critiques and some underwater treading, things like that. So it's a one-stop shop for you guys looking for swim stuff, and that works real well. All right, folks. So I don't see any more questions. I'm gonna pull chalks on this one, and I'll be back next week. So give me some questions if you got them. You guys have a good one.